My wife texted from her parents' house, "I'm not coming home until you buy me a new SUV." I replied, "Understood." Then I downgraded her phone, canceled her subscriptions. 72 hours later, her father called to negotiate her surrender. I, 38 male, am an architect. My entire profession revolves around a single principle. A structure is only as strong as its foundation. For 8 years, I believed the foundation of my marriage to Jennifer, 35, was solid, built on shared dreams and mutual respect. I now see it was just soil for her entitlement to grow in. The first tremor was a conversation about our car, a perfectly functional 5-year-old sedan. For Jennifer, it had become a symbol of our mediocrity. Her social circle was ascending into the realm of high-end SUVs, and she felt left behind. I calmly explained that a $70,000 vehicle was a direct contradiction to our 5-year plan, the one we'd blueprinted together to save for a plot of land where I would design and build our forever home. Our dream. Her reaction was a week of weaponized silence, punctuated by heavy sighs during luxury car commercials. Last weekend, she went to visit her parents, Robert and Barbara. A routine trip until the text message that landed on my phone Sunday night. "Jennifer, I'm not coming home until you buy me a new SUV. I've earned it." My parents agree. "Don't call me until you're at the dealership." I read it a dozen times. The sheer audacity, the transactional nature of it all, the casual deployment of her parents as emotional backup. It was an ultimatum, a hostile takeover bid for our marriage. Every instinct screamed at me to call, to rage, to demand an explanation. But I'm an architect. I don't improvise with sledgehammers when surgical demolition is required. Rage is chaos. A methodical response is structure. I typed a single word and sent it. "Understood." Then I opened my laptop and began drawing a new set of plans. First, the minor luxuries. Our credit card statement was a map of her lifestyle, a lifestyle I largely funded. I went online and logged into the 3 subscription services registered in my name: her curated clothing box, a gourmet meal kit, and a premium wine club. Cancelled. For the other miscellaneous boxes billed to my card, I knew canceling one by one would be a slog. So I took a more efficient route. I went to my credit card's website, reported the card as lost, and requested a new one with a new number be mailed to me. Within 48 hours, every recurring payment would begin to fail. Next, the digital umbilical cord. We had a top-tier family mobile plan, account in my name. I downgraded her line to the most basic plan available. No unlimited data, no hotspot. Just talk and text. Enough to call for help, not enough to endlessly browse the lives of people she envied. I then changed the passwords to all 5 of our shared streaming accounts. This wasn't about being petty. It was about implementing consequences that mirrored her actions. She had unilaterally declared herself a non-participant in our partnership until her demands were met. Very well, I was merely adjusting the resource allocation within that partnership to reflect her new status. The house fell silent. Walking past her home office, I saw the large format drawings for our dream house pinned to the corkboard. The intricate lines, the careful notes, the soul of our supposed future. A future she was willing to trade for a status symbol. The sadness was immense, a physical weight in my chest. It was the grief for the woman I thought I had married. But then I'd look at her text again. "I've earned it." And the grief would recede, replaced by a cold, clear-eyed resolve. The foundation was compromised. It was time for a structural assessment. Update 1. It's been 6 days. The initial silence from Jennifer was, I'm sure, smug. She had fired her shot and was waiting for the inevitable surrender. The first sign of trouble for her would have been small. A loading screen that never finished, a streaming app asking for a password she didn't have. The call came on Friday night. Not from her, of course. From her father, Robert. "Michael, good, you picked up," he began, his voice radiating a false, hearty warmth that always set my teeth on edge. "Listen, I think we've got a little misunderstanding that's gotten out of hand." "I'm not sure what there is to misunderstand, Robert," I said, keeping my tone level. "Don't be difficult, son. Jennifer's here, all torn up, says her phone is acting up, says you're being cold. I'm calling, man to man, to get this sorted out. We need to get her back home." There it was, man to man, the condescending pat on the head from the man who still saw his 35-year-old daughter as a prize to be managed. Her phone makes and receives calls perfectly. And she is welcome to come home the moment she decides to, I replied. A pause. I heard him sigh, a sound of manufactured patience. Look, she's a sensitive woman. You know that. She just wants to feel appreciated. A new car isn't a big ask for a man in your position. Her mother and I have always provided for her, and we expected her husband to continue that. The philosophy of her entire family laid bare. She wasn't my partner. She was a dependent whose care had been transferred. My position, I said, my voice hardening, is as her husband in a partnership built on respect. Ultimatums are not respect. Holding our marriage hostage is not respect. And frankly, Robert, you encouraging this behavior is the furthest thing from respect I can imagine. The bonhomie vanished. You watch your tone, he snapped. We are her family. We're helping her get what she is owed. What she is owed is an adult conversation with her husband, I retorted, which I am happy to have, alone, without a list of demands and without her family acting as her enforcers. This is the last time I will discuss my marriage with you. Jennifer has my number. I hung up. My hands weren't shaking this time. I felt a profound, chilling clarity. This wasn't a tantrum. It was a business tactic taught to her by her parents. They genuinely believed this was how you negotiated a marriage. They had misjudged their opponent. They saw me as a quiet, accommodating provider. They didn't understand that an architect's greatest strength is a deep, unshakable patience for process. They wanted a quick fight. I was preparing for a siege. The next morning, I didn't just email a divorce attorney. I booked a full paid consultation for the following week. It was time to get a professional survey of the damage. Update 2, a week after the call with Robert, they escalated, drastically. I came home from a site visit to find a gleaming black sedan, Robert and Barbara's, in my driveway. The front door of my house opened before I even reached the porch. It was Jennifer, flanked by her parents, her face a mask of serene confidence. Michael, she said, as if summoning an underling. We need to talk. Now. I stopped on the walkway. I agree, we can talk after your parents leave. Barbara stepped forward, her smile thin and sharp. Nonsense, Michael. We're here as mediators, to ensure a productive outcome. This isn't a mediation. It's an ambush, I said, my gaze fixed on Jennifer. I made my terms clear to your father. You and I. Alone. Don't be so dramatic, Jennifer shot back, her composure fraying. I'm not going in there alone with you. You've been hostile and frankly, you're scaring me. The accusation was so absurd, so transparently manipulative, that I almost laughed. I've sent one text message in 2 weeks, but if you feel you need protection, that speaks volumes. You have 1 minute for your parents to return to their car, or this conversation is over before it begins. Robert started to puff up, but Jennifer, seeing the finality in my expression, waved him off. Fine. Wait in the car. They retreated, their glares promising a later reckoning. She swept past me into the house. I cannot believe the petty childish games you're playing, she began, her voice rising. My data, my shows, my subscription boxes. It's financial abuse. Is it? I asked, closing the door. Or is it me ceasing to fund the luxuries of someone who has abandoned our home and our partnership? You are free to pay for your own entertainment, Jennifer. With what money? You know what I make. You're supposed to be my husband. And you're supposed to be my wife, I countered. The money you want to spend on a car is the same money we allocated for our house. I gestured toward my office, where the blueprints were pinned to the wall. Her eyes followed my gesture, and she scoffed. A real, guttural sound of derision. Oh, please, don't start with your silly little drawings, that ridiculous dream house. It was never going to happen, Michael. It was just your hobby to keep you busy. My hobby. Years of our shared future, the very soul of our financial and emotional planning, dismissed as a pastime. That single sentence was more brutal than any ultimatum. Before I could react, she strode into the office. I'm taking my things, she announced. She grabbed her designer handbag and laptop. Then she started pulling my first edition architecture books from the shelf and shoving them into a tote bag. Those are mine, Jennifer. My voice was dangerously low. Consider them collateral, she sneered. Then she reached for the corkboard. She unpinned the main elevation drawing, the one I'd hand-drawn on expensive vellum. And I'll take this, as a reminder of all your empty promises. In a moment of pure, spiteful rage at her loss of control, she began to fold it. Not carefully, but with a vindictive carelessness, crumpling the delicate paper, destroying hours of meticulous work. The man who loved her vanished. The husband who was grieving ceased to exist. All that remained was the architect watching someone demolish his life's work. I didn't shout. I stepped back, my phone already in hand, and dialed 911. "Yes," I said calmly to the operator, my eyes locked on Jennifer's horrified face. "I'd like to report a domestic disturbance. My estranged wife, who has not lived here for 2 weeks, has entered my home under false pretenses and is destroying and attempting to steal my personal and professional property." Jennifer froze, the crumpled drawing falling from her limp fingers. "No, there are no weapons," I continued into the phone. "But she is acting erratically, and her parents are waiting outside. I am concerned the situation could escalate. Please send a unit to keep the peace." I used their language, keep the peace. I wasn't asking them to be judge and jury. I was asking them to be witnesses and de-escalators. The game had changed. Update 3. It's now been 5 months since the ambush. To those who think the 911 call was a magic wand, let me assure you, it was not. It was merely the first move in a long, grueling game of chess. The police arrived as I expected. They were cautious, professional, and their faces tightened the moment Jennifer said, "I'm his wife. This is my house." They immediately declared it a civil matter. They didn't take my side or hers. But my strategy worked. I was calm. I had the phone log showing my request for her parents to leave. I pointed to the crumpled drawing and the books in her bag, not as a theft victim, but as the reason for the disturbance. Jennifer, on the other hand, was hysterical, alternating between tears and accusations. Her parents rushing in only made things worse. The officers did what they were trained to do. They de-escalated. They separated us and documented everything in a neutral incident report. The report stated the facts. Parties are married, but female party has been residing at parents' address for 2 weeks. Dispute arose over male party's personal property. Parties separated for the evening. It wasn't a criminal charge. It was better. It was a formal, third-party record of her instability and the exact timeline of our separation. My lawyer called it a perfectly preserved snapshot of the marital breakdown. The weeks that followed were hell. Jennifer lawyered up, and the demands began. Her attorney, a shark in a silk suit, painted me as a controlling, abusive monster. They filed for temporary orders, demanding exorbitant spousal support, exclusive use of the house, and a list of other absurdities. We ended up before a family court judge for a temporary hearing. Jennifer, coached to perfection, played the victim. My lawyer simply presented the facts, her text message ultimatum, my calm response, the incident report, and my financial records showing the canceled luxuries versus her demands for a $70 car. The judge was not swayed by her theatrics. He was a pragmatist. He did not grant her the house. He did, however, award her temporary spousal support, a significant monthly amount that made my stomach turn. "She is your wife and has a lower earning capacity," he said flatly. "Until this is finalized, you will support her." This was her first win, and she and her family treated it like a lottery victory. This is where their entitlement became my greatest weapon. Jennifer's lawyer arranged a civil standby, where a police officer chaperoned her to collect her belongings. She took everything she could, but under the officer's watchful eye, she couldn't touch my books, my office, or my equipment. The following months were a slog of legal paperwork. Discovery, where we had to exchange every financial document. A failed mediation, where she and her lawyer refused any offer that didn't include a massive payout and the mythical SUV. All the while I paid the court-ordered support. And I watched. Her social media, which she foolishly left public, became a chronicle of her poor judgment. There were expensive dinners with friends, new designer clothes, a weekend trip to a spa. She wasn't banking the support money or planning for her future. She was desperately trying to maintain the facade of a lifestyle she felt she was owed, burning through my money as a form of revenge. My lawyer had me meticulously documenting every post. The foundation was crumbling, but not mine, hers. Final update. It has been 10 months since Jennifer texted me that ultimatum. Last week, the judge signed the final decree. The structure is demolished, and the site is cleared. The turning point wasn't a single dramatic moment in court. It was the slow, methodical accumulation of evidence. The final settlement negotiations were brutal. Her lawyer came in high, demanding a massive portion of my retirement savings and permanent alimony. My lawyer didn't argue. He simply laid out his case on the table. Exhibit A, the initial text message. Exhibit B, the police incident report, which established her as the instigator of the confrontation. Exhibit C, a detailed log of her social media posts, cross-referenced with her bank statements, obtained in discovery, showing she had spent nearly all of the $20,000 in temporary support on non-essential luxury items. Exhibit D, her refusal to seek full-time employment despite the judge's recommendation at the temporary hearing. My lawyer argued that Jennifer wasn't seeking support for her needs. She was demanding a fund for her wants, a lifestyle she had made no effort to contribute to or sustain herself. Her behavior, he stated, demonstrated a consistent pattern of financial irresponsibility and a refusal to negotiate in good faith. The fight went out of them. They knew if this went to trial, she would be eviscerated on the stand. We settled. The terms were this. The marriage was short enough that permanent alimony was off the table. She was awarded a short period of rehabilitative alimony, far less than she'd been getting. We sold the house, as is common, and split the equity. After paying off legal fees, her share was significant, but nowhere near life-changing. She got to keep her car and her personal belongings. I kept my books, my professional assets, my retirement accounts, and my savings. The aftermath has been a study in natural consequences. Jennifer's winnings were quickly consumed by her legal bills and the deposit on a small, expensive apartment. The rehabilitative alimony helps, but it doesn't support her old lifestyle. The friends she was brunching with have faded away now that she can't keep up. She had to get a full-time job, not at a chic gallery, but in retail. She lives alone. Her parents, having spent a small fortune on her lawyer, have apparently adopted a new policy of tough love. Robert and Barbara didn't get their daughter a new SUV. They got a front-row seat to the consequences of their own enabling philosophy. As for me, the quiet in my new, smaller place is no longer lonely. It's peaceful. It's the silence of a cleared building site, ready for something new. I kept the crumpled architectural drawing. I had it professionally flattened and framed. It hangs in my new office, not as a monument to a broken dream, a blueprint of a vital lesson learned. You cannot build a shared future on a faulty foundation. It will always collapse. Last month, I put a down payment on that small plot of land. It's all mine. The new plans I'm drawing are more modest, but the foundation is impeccable.